Hey everyone, 𝗦𝗨𝗶𝗫 here, intuitive life coach and mindset expert for high-performing female entrepreneurs looking to level up their lifestyle, income, and most importantly, their impact from mediocre to magical. And today I'm going to share why I decided to take out my IUD. Now, if you choose birth control, more power to you. I absolutely support you, and I have done birth control for many, many years of my life as well. And I noticed some symptoms that were adding up. And there is a lot of talk about the dangers, the symptoms, things to consider with the long-term use of birth control, and I was starting to notice those symptoms. So I'm going to share a little bit about what those symptoms look like. And now, after a week out of having my IUD taken out, what that looks like as well, and then also some of the spiritual perspective as to why it makes sense that once we have this beautiful recalibration within our system, taking out this foreign object or entity, why it all makes sense that we would feel better. So again, if you choose birth control, I am super proud of you because babies are not a surprise. They are a decision, right? They might be a snap decision whether we want to have them or not, or whatever that looks like for you. You guys know what I'm getting at. But it is a choice, it is a decision, and so you are able to have beautiful flowing sex if you want to with birth control, and that's awesome. But for me, on my journey at 31 years old, I really want to take power and take responsibility and ownership of my body without the use of birth control controlling it, basically is what it's doing. So I'll be sharing my journey with you guys because it's important, and I know I'm not the only one who is exploring this. So with that, let's dive right in. What were some of my symptoms that I started to notice? So I was on the Skyla IUD for 3 years, and then when that expired in April of 2019, I got a fresh new Skyla IUD put in, and that's when I really started to notice the symptoms. Now, the Skyla, I believe, is a low-grade hormone, so there's not a lot of hormones that come out. I think there's a lot of progesterone. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be super accurate here. I'm just trying to share my experience. But what I do know is that since about April, my moods were really shifting. I wasn't who I usually am, and I was watching the time hops on my Facebook show up, and like my posts were super positive and loving and look like love so much that everyone around you looks like love too. But that wasn't how I was feeling. Like, that was the old Ashley prior to birth control. And I was like, man, I miss her. So that was actually a big key for me of like, man, I miss that. A really big thing that I had noticed was even in my business, I had always been so driven by purpose and community and impact. And I was noticing myself feel really flatlined and disinterested, and things made me happy, but I wasn't really happy like I knew I could be and I used to be. And there's this low-grade depression. So I done everything that I could. My nutrition is on point. I promise you I'm one of the healthiest people that you know. In my holistic practices, this is like my number one passion and my hobby is trying new cleanses and trying new things. I'm super healthy. So I'm really had focused on that to really counteract, without medication, this low-grade depression that I was feeling. So nutrition, my self-care, giving myself time to rest and relax and rejuvenate, getting enough sleep, surrounding myself with people that I love and things that bring me joy. Like, I was really doing everything that I could to, and of course, like supplements and things like that, and grounding my home to alleviate the EMFs that are constantly bombarding us. Like, I have done everything that I know to do to really support my body and healing. And this low-grade depression was not going away. The me that I missed so much, which was so happy and I just wanted to love everyone and hug everyone, went away. And I was like, where did she go? I just didn't understand. And the biggest thing that happened to me that really made me commit to taking out my IUD was I went to a place in town, and it's called 𝗫𝗏𝗏, and it's a place where literally a bunch of bounce houses, and kids jump around. And I took my little daughter there, and I was playing with her, and she's so cute. She's bouncing around, and I'm like cheering for her. And this mom comes up to me, and she said, "Oh, you and your daughter are so beautiful. Look at those beautiful blue eyes." And I was like, thanks. Like, I appreciated the compliment, but I couldn't really receive it. And I was like, that was weird, because usually I'm the person who would go to 𝗫𝗏𝗏, and I would be complimenting everyone. I'd be like handing it out like free candy, healthy candy, to people, and they would think that I was weird because I was so happy. And I'd have people say, like, actually, I'd have to unfollow you on social media because you're so positive. And I never really understood what they meant, because that was like Ashley organically who she was and is. And I was so disconnected from that these past few years, and I couldn't figure out why. So when I witnessed this other girl give me a compliment, I was like, wow, that was weird. Why wasn't I able to receive it? Why did I think of her as weird? Because I used to be that person. And then in that same trip, there's another lady. I was wearing a hat that had the Arbonne symbol on it, which is it's a holistically based company. And she goes, oh, I love Arbonne. It's so, like, have you tried the new protein or something? And I like looked at her, and my first thought was like, why are you talking to me? That's weird. And I was like, oh yeah, I do Arbonne, and I just continued the conversation. But I didn't feel sincere. Versus again, before, I was the one who would start those conversations with people. Or I would love when people talked with me because my heart was just so open. I wanted to just love, 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 to a point where people would joke with me about being, rainbows and butterflies and unicorns all the time. And I've had people say, Ashley, there's no way that you're that happy all the time. And I'm like, I actually kind of am, But I realized that version of me had evolved. I don't even know if it's evolved, had changed. And I was like, I miss her. I miss when I could love so fully other people, but even my daughter, even my husband. I felt not disconnected from my daughter, but I felt like I would look at her and I'd be anxious and stressed out and like, oh, I have so much to do, rather than giving myself permission to really sit with her and be present. Like this ability for me to be present and feel satisfied and safe with her had become so much harder, and I didn't understand why. It just was. And this low-grade depression, and I didn't know what was going to make me happy. So I'm noticing this, right? The time hop is showing up. God always speaks, God, universe, holy God, creator, source, whatever you align with will speak through other people. So all these experiences start to add up. And then one of my very good friends, who is a holistic practitioner who has completely changed my life, she had talked to me about getting my IUD taken out. And I was like, I never thought of it before. I like the idea that I'm a married woman and I can do what I want with my husband and not worry about getting pregnant, because having a baby is a big decision, as I'm sure you know. If you don't know, it's a big decision. It'll change your life, change everything for the best, because children are amazing. But at the same time, it'll change your life. So she had told me about it. So this is number 3 that it's starting to compound in my experience of I should take a look at this. And then I go to a meeting with a bunch of my other holistic friends. Again, that's totally my jam. Holistic health is where I started for 7 years of my business as an entrepreneur. And so there's an Ayurvedic practitioner, there's holistic practitioner, there's a naturopath there. There are all sorts of practitioners. And I was like, hey, so I was thinking about getting my IUD taken out, but it feels really crazy. Are any of you guys on birth control? There were about 8 women there, and they're like, no, are you? And I was like, yeah. I was the only one of these holistic practitioners who's on birth control. And I was like, weird. How do you guys even keep track of this? How do you trust that you're not going to get pregnant? They're like, oh, we just do the fertility awareness method, FAM. And here's how you track it and blah, blah. And I was like completely mind blown that I was the only one who did have my birth control in. And these are sexually active women, some in relationships, some are not, some are married, some are not. And so that really got me thinking. So I think it's at 4 now of things that had within 2 weeks had compounded. And so I decided, I'm feeling this disconnect from my daughter, this anxiousness, this stress, this not enoughness. I'm not loving as big as I used to. And even with my husband, I love him, but I was really becoming disinterested in sex, which in the beginning of our relationship, that was not the thing. I think that kind of happens, right? Honeymoon period. But it was a joke about sex drive push to start for me. I'm a Scorpio, super divine feminine woman. I used to be a dancer. I was just roaring with all these female lioness energy. And I actually asked my husband, I'm like, have you noticed that I've been really disinterested in sex recently? And he's like, yeah, actually I have. And so all of it are we on 6? Are we on 5? I don't know. All of these things compounded. And I was like, what's shifted is that I got a new birth control with new hormones and a new dose, right? Because I think after 3 years it expires. So maybe the hormones run out or however that works. And I was like, that's really interesting. And the long-term use of birth control, right? So these are all the reasons why I decided to shift and get it taken out, because I was like, no matter what I'm doing holistically, energetically, I'm doing my meditations, I'm visualizing myself being healthy and happy every single day, it's not working. So I'm going to try getting my IUD out. I also talked to one of my other friends who is an amazing intuitive and a therapist, and she's like, oh yeah, I got I was like, she's definitely got to have hers in, all my holistic people. And she's like, oh no, I got mine out and I feel amazing. My skin got better. She's like, I just feel more in tune with my body. And I was like, okay. And so the more I prayed about it, the more it became apparent and clear to me, I got to get this taken out. So I did. those are all the reasons why I did. When I got taken out, super easy, quick. I just went into the doctor and they pulled it right out. I didn't have any complications or anything. And as soon as I had been really praying when I was in the waiting or in the doctor's office, like before the doctor actually came in, I was just praying with my body and spending time with her. Like, okay, this is the moment that we decide to take this out. Because an IUD is really expensive if you don't have insurance, like a couple $1,000s to my knowledge. So I'm like, I'm making a big decision by taking this out. So when she did, I was like, this is it. Like, I kind of felt this energy shift. I felt like this empowerment of like, I'm choosing to trust my body. Because that's why I got the birth control in the first place. I don't trust myself and I didn't trust my body that I wouldn't get pregnant. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to have another baby and it's going to throw everything. Motherhood is amazing. But when you are an entrepreneur and you are growing your business and you're balancing people from across the globe and being a mom and being a wife and being a member of the community, it gets a lot. So I can't even imagine having another child at this point. So it wasn't something that was on my radar or that I wanted. But when I walked out of the doctor's office and I got into the sunshine, I was just smiling. I had this huge smile on my face of like, I did it. Like, we did it. Like, we get to make this conscious choice. And I am like completely free of all medications, all birth control, all of anything that could be influencing my body, my hormones, my anything. Like, it's just you, body, and your body wants to heal. It's so beautiful. Like, if you get a cut, you don't have to stare at it and say, get better. You know, it just does. It just does. It's so beautiful. We make babies and things recover. We make milk and it just does it. You know what I mean? So it was really empowering for me and a really empowered decision for me to have my birth control taken out. So I felt really, really good. And I was like, now I'm wondering what I'm going to experience. So here's some of the things, the shifts that I noticed quickly after. Again, it's only been a week since I've had it out. Number one is my skin. So I'm 31 and I am really not afraid of death. I'll admit, I'm a little vain and I'm really afraid of aging. And so when I was on my birth control, I was like, oh gosh, look at my eyes, look at my wrinkles, blah, blah, blah. And so something that was really interesting is like once I got my IUD out, like 3 days later, I noticed that my skin got better. Like the dry and the wrinkles and stuff like that. I mean, I still have them. You guys can see, I still have them. And that's totally okay because it's like we're going to age gracefully, right? But my skin got better. Something about it shifted. I don't know what it is. I don't know the science or the studies behind it. I just know that something that I was like getting down on myself for, which is like, oh, I'm aging, I'm getting to be an old lady. I was like, wow, my skin actually improved. Like, I no longer have these hormones telling my body that it's pregnant, you know, and kind of controlling that space, and my body feels better. I'm going to get into the spiritual aspect of this too, because another thing that I realized prior to having my, like when I had my birth control in, is that my hands and my toes would be, and my legs, I was just like freezing cold all the time, which is a circulation issue, right? And I can totally go into like, if you have a scar or a tattoo or anything like that, like your body is like your protective layer. And then if you get a hole in it or a scratch or a scar, or even a piercing, then that layer is like opened up. It becomes like an energy leakage. So here we are in all of our vibrancy and our beautiful stuff. We have this high voltage nutrition going into our body, but we have a leakage, right? So like clay packing is a really beautiful and profound way to heal and seal these up. If you have questions, please drop them below. Let's have another side conversation because that's for a whole other day. But you want to seal those things up. Like all the piercings that I had, surprise, fun fact, Ashley's had 10 piercings. So I've had to clay pack each of those, which helps seal up that space. It's amazing. Sounds cuckoo, sounds super woo-woo. If you're not into it, you muscle test it. It's so amazing. And you'll see, like, there'll be a gap in your energy here, energy field. You muscle test it and you'll be really weak. And then you clay pack it and then you muscle test it and you'll be really strong, which is a sign that you've closed up that area of gap. So what happens is if you have something controlling your body, especially in the lower root chakra, and I don't say controlling in a bad way, right? Like I'm grateful, like I want to control a virus and make sure it doesn't get out, you know, like not that pregnancy is a virus, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? Is that's in that space. And I was like, I'm so cold, I'm feeling so disconnected. This tells me that there's a gap in my energy field and I could not figure out what it was. Until I was like, oh, maybe it's my birth control. Another thing for me to mention that I forgot was I've had 2 psychics, actually 3, 3 different psychics who have noticed things in my like my cervical area, my uterus, and they couldn't figure out what it was. They were like, it's not a black entity, but it's something like that. It's not entity, but there's something. They couldn't figure it out. One of the psychic readers was a man, and I was at the Psychic Institute actually, and he's like, because you're a woman, I'm going to have a woman step in here and do a healing on you because it's not appropriate for a man to do that on a woman. And I was like, okay, she saw it too. So she was a third person. Then I had another person who had mentioned it as well. And I was like, I did have cancer in 2010 and they had to remove a part of my cervix, but I'm cancer free now. So I don't think that it's that. I wonder what it could be. So all signs, is this like, again, 6 or 7 or something? All the signs had really been pointing this IUD as creating this energy gap or something that is not healthy for my body. Even though I didn't have a lot of I would be really tired or things like that. But, yeah, so I'm really glad that I got it taken out because so many things have shifted. So going back to the skin clearing up, if you think about it, if I have this removed and I really did a whole cleanse of like dumping out any of the toxins that were associated with that, doing crystal healings to support my my uterus as well, and just like loving on her and just welcome home to my body. While I was doing that, it kind of sealed up that gap. It sealed up energetically what was lacking. And so that would make sense now with the full circulation that my skin, the vibrancy has come back. So that's one of the things that I've noticed. Another one is sexually for sure. Absolutely. It was like I wanted to, and I remember I used to do this in the beginning, and there were certain times I would still do it during the relationship with my husband where I really wanted to like massage him and touch him and tickle his back and tickle his arms without any need. I just wanted to because I wanted to touch. It was like I feel like I can feel more deeply. Same with like my daughter. Like when I snuggled her, a lot of the stress went away of like, oh, I have so much to do. But instead it was like presence. And my daughter noticed it too, which was really beautiful. She's 4.5. And it was just like, I feel like I can love more. Another thing is with my clients, right? Like many years ago, I remember, not even many years ago, it was like 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago. So before I got on birth control, because I wasn't on for a long time. I'd be like off and on. But I would always like send out happy text messages to my clients, and I just loved them so much. I would wake up and the first thing I'd want to do is like send them a love note. And then I was like, I wish I had that energy again. Like I wish I had the need to do that in my practice because it was so important, and I just haven't been doing it. And since I had my IUD out, that's all I want to do is like personally DM every single person who comments on my posts and send them love and like give them a virtual hug. I'm like, it feels like almost this beautiful mania of wholesomeness. I love you. I love you. And that's like who I used to be, and that's how I've always been known. And it wasn't until I got my IUD out that I was feeling that love, like what it truly means to unconditionally love my family, my husband, my daughter, my brothers, my sisters, and especially my clients. And it's like, this whole like vortex is opened up and I feel more. That's another really big thing that I noticed. Also being in community. So my need to, but my excitement to volunteer more and to be a part of the community versus I felt myself like I was like, again, this is just a week's difference. I felt myself being exhausted and tired and just like I only have enough energy reserved for my clients and for my daughter and my family, I don't really want to do anything else. But now I actually just bought the domain name of the Empowered Neighbor Project, and that's not a nonprofit. It could be a nonprofit. There's a lot. But basically, the Empowered Neighbor Project is something I want to do within our community, so that way we can all be empowered neighbors, and each month we can choose a nonprofit or an organization or a charity or something that the community can gather together, and we can help them meet their goals. So becoming an empowered neighbor. And that came through, like, within a couple of days of me taking out my IUD, like, I can love deeper. I can feel more. I just feel so much more connected to power and purpose, which I didn't have that before, which is like so beautiful. And I've been waiting for this for years to come back, and I'm so happy that it finally has. Another thing is I went for a walk with my daughter. I used to be a very avid runner. I ran a marathon. Okay, it was a half marathon. And I died, and that was a whole other story. I did. Spark notes. I ran a half marathon. My heart stopped. I do have a heart condition. And I was resuscitated in the hospital for 3 days. So again, that's another story. You can look it up online. I'll tell you more if you guys want to know. But I used to be an avid runner. I absolutely loved it. And then I just haven't wanted to recently, especially not since I got my new IUD in with like the fresh dose. So I went for a walk with my daughter, and I was like, I feel like going for a run. I feel like it. And I was like, hey, do you want to race? she's 4.5, so she always wants to race. She wants to run everywhere that she goes. And I felt the need to run. I felt the need to work out. I felt the need to be in my body. And so now we'll kind of transition into like the spiritual aspects and why this makes sense. Your root chakra, a little bit of your sacral chakra too. Actually here, root chakra is down here. Oh, there it is. You get what I'm saying. The whole point of this is to hide that. I kind of blew it there. But your root chakra is all about safety and security, and those are the big ones. Foundation, fertility, the power, the divine feminine, like everything that like Wonder Woman is all in that root chakra. And so if we're blocking that, that makes perfect sense that I'm feeling disconnected from the authentic relationships with other people. And also where I couldn't rest and just be with my daughter and hold her without feeling anxious or, I got something else to do. Because I was blocked in that area of safety and security and the firm foundation. I had always a million things to do. I was very unsettled. But now that it's taken out, I can be. I have permission to be present. I have permission to feel successful now and to celebrate now. And I'm just noticing this really huge difference in this like different awareness too of like, I want to, instead of being in my office and grind all day, I feel this need to go outside and play and just lay in the earth. Like that's living. That's truly living. Being in an office all day, pounding out work stuff and funnels and emails and courses, which I love all of it because of the impact, but that's not the purpose of living. The purpose of living is to get out and actually live life. And so now I'm feeling that call. And it feels like good and alive again. Other things that I wanted to say about that. Self-nourishment. Like I feel so at home in my body and I feel nourished. And so like now when I'm doing self-care, I feel like I can receive it more. I feel like I can receive those compliments. I can just be with that. It's a little bit tricky to explain, but it does make perfect sense. So what I wanted to read to you, because this is all my personal experience, but right before I did this video, I wanted to check out something online of like, what are the symptoms? What are other people talking about? So I'm going to drop the link in the description below, but this is from pullingdownthemoon.com. Quick thing I looked up, and I thought this was really beautiful and makes perfect sense. She writes, being disconnected from the root chakra energy can manifest as high levels of fear, stress, check, had that, addictions, depression, check, obsessive disorders, check, an extreme need for control, right? Like I said, I'm like pounding things out in my business and I have to get it done and I can't celebrate and I can't be settled. Go, 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 go. And now I've like cleared that and I'm just excited to be. I just hop on here and do a quick video for you guys without feeling it has to be perfect. Physically, the chakra relates to the spine, the kidneys, adrenal glands, immune system, skeletal system, and the reproductive organs. Okay, this is another huge one too because I've been in the hospital twice in the past 4 years for kidney infections, which are really, that's exactly what it's saying that it relates to. Adrenals have been out pretty consistently. I've taken supplements for that. Immune system, I was actually sick for a month and a half doing all my holistic practices and my meditation, my visualizations, and the zinc and all of that stuff. And I was sick for a month and a half. It was pretty crazy. And I was like, why is my immune system so low? I don't understand. I'm like so healthy and I take care of my body and I really do my best to alleviate stress. But it makes sense. It's attached to the root chakra stuff. And if that root chakra is blocked, it's going to make sense that you're going to have these symptoms. The skeletal system and reproductive organs. Cold hands and feet. I had that, you guys. Remember? Frequent urination, high blood pressure, low back pain, difficulties in the feet, legs, or hips, low sex drive, had that, and infertility or impotence are common ailments associated with an unbalanced first chakra, which is your root chakra. So if you guys are experiencing those symptoms, I would encourage you to check out and see. Maybe it could be your birth control because it might be working great at first, but the long-term effects could have long-term effects. So just some food for thought for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any other questions. I feel like I have lots more to experience as I go along, but I wish I had a video like this for me to look at and to learn from and to make an educated decision as to whether or not I wanted to get my IUD taken out. And I'm grateful that I have beautiful, amazing naturopaths and holistic practitioners who I am dear friends with and partner with in my practice. To highlight to me the importance of taking it out because I do not regret it. And moving forward, in case you're wondering, my husband and I are planning to use the fertility awareness method. Fertility awareness method, and that is tracking your ovulation. And there is a woman named Femhead who I would love to meet this woman because she's super rad. I will drop her link below and information because she talks a lot about the fertility awareness method and how to use it properly. But it's basically being in tune with your body. And also using a barrier contraceptive, like using condoms or something like that. You know, when I talk to my husband about it, he's such a delight. I love him so much. He's like, babe, it's your body. You know, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you get to do. And it makes more sense that rather than me putting hormones in my body, that when we're too close to the fertility window, or if I'm on my period or whatever that is, that he will use protection. So I think it's important to have these conversations, and I hope you guys found value in this today because I am being really vulnerable as I'm sharing this. But I love you guys. Go out there and make informed decisions. Again, pro birth control or not birth control, whatever you feel, I hope that you are empowered in either and any decision that you make, and I support you fully and wishing you an amazing day full of all the amazing things. Bye, guys.